Seismic shockwaves are currently reverberating thousands of miles away in the Czech Republic as the tennis world stays transfixed. Every eye is fixated on the hard courts of the California Open, where a single match has just threatened to upend the entire WTA hierarchy for the remainder of the 2026 season. Today, a 20-year-old phenom from the Philippines didn't just play a match. She completely dismantled the sport's predictable narrative. The southpaw sensation Alexandra Ayala has been hammering at the gates of the elite for years. But today, she didn't wait for an invite, she kicked the door down. Ayala's performance against one of the game's most formidable titans was a masterclass in modern tennis. Facing the world number 13 and reigning Doha champion Karolina Muchova, Ayala delivered a display so clinically precise and mentally unshakable that it left the veteran Czech and her nation in a state of pure disbelief. This was far more than a simple victory on the scoreboard. It was a high-stakes collision between two polar opposite philosophies of the game, featuring the WTA's ultimate chess player on one side of the net. Muchova is renowned for her aesthetic brilliance, using a complex tapestry of slices, volleys, and variety that makes her one of the most mesmerizing yet frustrating opponents to face. Muchova arrived in California riding a massive wave of momentum and confidence. As an established superstar, she was fresh off her maiden WTA 1000 title in Doha and had successfully reclaimed her rightful spot within the global top 15. Many experts viewed her as the dark horse favorite to sweep the upcoming Sunshine Double, remembering how she nearly toppled Iga Swiatek in a major final. Standing across from her was Alexandra Ayala, already a national icon in the Philippines at just 20 years old, who proved today that she is a terrifying force to be reckoned with. Entering the tournament with a career-high ranking of 31, Ayala was the kind of dangerous floater that seeds dread seeing in their bracket. However, almost no one predicted she would systematically demolish a player of Muchova's caliber with such raw, unadulterated power. It is now clear that the Ayala effect has evolved from a trending social media topic into a cold, hard, competitive reality. The heavyweights of the tour must now adapt to this new tactical landscape because the significance of this result is impossible to overstate. Watching their top-ranked star fall to a rising Southeast Asian prodigy serves as a jarring wake-up call for the Czech Republic. This is a nation that takes immense pride in its conveyor belt of world-class talent, yet today belonged entirely to the Philippines. It marks a historic milestone, as a Filipino player has finally stepped onto the big stage and defeated a perennial Grand Slam contender, playing at the peak of her powers. To truly understand this earthquake in the rankings, we have to deconstruct exactly how and why this happened. We must look at how Ayala neutralized Muchova's legendary variety and why the Czech serve, usually her most reliable weapon, deserted her in the biggest moments. Furthermore, we need to project how this massive upset will ripple through the rest of the tournament draw. This is an in-depth autopsy of a match that will be remembered as Alexandra Ayala's definitive arrival on the world stage. We are breaking down the analytics, the court positioning, the mental warfare, and the global fallout of a result that has genuinely stunned the sporting community. The stage was set at the California Open for a showdown between Alexandra Ayala and Karolina Muchova, the 13th ranked player in the world. It was a contest that shifted the tectonic plates of the tour. And to understand the gravity of the upset, we must look at the journeys both women took to get here. Let us begin with the perspective of Karolina Muchova. Up until this point, 2026 had been the definitive year of Muchova's resurgence. After enduring years of grueling wrist injuries and abdominal strains that threatened to derail her immense potential, Karolina had finally found her peak physical form, culminating in a tactical masterclass to take the title in Doha. Muchova didn't just win, she systematically out-hustled and out-thought the elite of the industry. The whispers in the locker room suggested she was performing at a top 5 level, even as her official ranking climbed back to number 13. Muchova brings a stylistic elegance to the game that is becoming increasingly rare in today's era of power hitters. She treats the entire court as her canvas, utilizing world-renowned drop shots and a vintage chip-and-charge approach. Competing against Muchova is like trying to catch a ghost. She is everywhere and nowhere at once. She disrupts any sense of rhythm by never feeding her opponents the same look twice. But Alexandra Ayala presented a brand new challenge. If Muchova is the grandmaster on the chessboard, Ayala is the unrelenting strategist who has perfected the legendary grit of the Rafa Nadal Academy. She has taken that Spanish-style resilience and fused it with a contemporary, high-octane baseline game that is uniquely her own. Her trajectory throughout 2026 has been nothing short of spectacular, highlighted by her near upset of Coco Gauff and her stunning victory over Jasmine Paolini in Dubai. We have seen the so-called Ayala army packing out venues from the heart of Manila to the grand stages of Melbourne. Despite her rise, a lingering question remained. Could she actually solve the puzzle of a crafty, experienced veteran? Critics wondered if she could stay patient against a player who refuses to provide easy pace, and the answer was a definitive yes from the opening serve. Ayala's left-handedness proved to be the ultimate tactical equalizer in this high-stakes matchup. She was perfectly positioned to neutralize Muchova's trademark backhand slice, which typically skids low and away from right-handed players. Instead of being pulled out of position, Ayala stepped inside the baseline to punish those slices with heavy, high-rotation cross-court forehands. It was a total tactical nightmare for Muchova, who found herself unable to use her usual angles to stretch Ayala across the court. In that opening set, Ayala played what many experts are calling a flawless brand of tennis. She seized the initiative in the third game, punishing a series of lackluster second serves to break Muchova and leave the Czech star looking visibly shaken. You could see the realization dawning in her eyes that her most reliable strategies were being systematically dismantled. Every time Muchova tried to approach the net, Ayala's passing shots were dialed in with laser-like precision, culminating in a spectacular point. When Ayala led 4-2, Muchova executed what appeared to be a perfect drop shot, but Ayala tracked it down, lobbed the ball over her head, and finished the exchange with a clinical swinging volley. The stadium fell into a momentary, hushed silence before the crowd absolutely erupted in celebration. At that moment, the Czech camp realized they were in for a long and difficult afternoon. Yet Muchova's championship heart would not let her go quietly. As the second set began to unfold, the veteran started to find her range and adjust her sights. She began using more air on her shots to push the young Filipina back and targeted Ayala's backhand with pinpoint accuracy on her serve. We watched Muchova claw her way back from a breakdown, displaying the same legendary toughness that took her to the finals of the French Open. This specific stretch of the match is why the Czech media is currently in such a state of shock, as the momentum had clearly shifted back to Muchova's side. She stood at the line serving for the second set while leading 5-4, and that is precisely when Alexandra Ayala's mental fortitude took center stage. Under that kind of immense pressure, most 20-year-old players would have seen their game crumble. Facing a veteran with Muchova's extensive resume is a daunting task, but Ayala did not blink. Instead, she transformed into an impenetrable wall. Ayala transformed herself into a human backboard, forcing Muchova to strike one extra shot after another until the pressure became unbearable. Under that relentless scrutiny, Muchova's game began to unravel with unforced errors, as the sheer physical exhaustion from her championship run in Doha finally took its toll. Her movement lost its customary silkiness, and in that high-stakes 10-minute window, her first serve percentage cratered to less than 50%. Ayala seized the moment with predatory instinct, breaking back and then holding serve with icy composure to take a 6-5 lead. The final game was a breathtaking highlight reel of Ayala's diverse arsenal as she accelerated toward the finish line. She ended the contest with 3 straight winners, a cross-court forehand that froze Muchova, a clinical down-the-line backhand, and a devastating return leaving fans in Prague and Olomouc staring at a scoreboard they couldn't believe. This straight-sets victory by the underdog sends massive shockwaves through the tour with significant long-term ramifications. It is a stinging disappointment for Karolina Muchova, who was widely expected to cruise deep into this draw to secure a top 8 seed for the upcoming majors. This loss might leave her fighting from the outside of the elite seeding circle, making her journey through the Grand Slam brackets significantly more grueling. The Czech media is already embroiled in a debate over whether Ayala has found a unique blueprint to beat Muchova or if burnout from the Middle East swing was the deciding factor. This match serves as a loud and clear siren for the rest of the WTA. Alexandra Ayala has proven she isn't just a talent on the rise. She is a giant slayer capable of dismantling the very best in the world. Her ranking is on a rocket ship toward the top 25, an achievement of unprecedented proportions for a player from the Philippines. Yet, even more impressive than the figures was her statement of intent, showcasing a level of tactical discipline usually reserved for seasoned veterans in their late 20s. We also have to talk about the sheer electricity in the air, as the Ayala Army turned the California Open into a boiling cauldron of support. The massive Filipino diaspora in California provided a home court advantage that appeared to genuinely catch Muchova off guard. The deafening roar after every Ayala point created an atmosphere more reminiscent of a Billie Jean King Cup final than an early-round tournament match. That collective energy became a tangible weapon, amplifying Ayala's confidence while visibly draining the spirit of her opponent. Moving forward in the draw, Ayala will no longer have the luxury of being the overlooked underdog. She is now a marked woman, with every elite coach in the top 20 already dissecting the game film from this performance. They are carefully studying how she neutralized Muchova's fabled variety and how she stayed ice-cold when the veteran attempted a comeback. This match represents a pivotal shift in the leadership narrative for the 2026 season as a whole. The distance between rising stars like Ayala and the established Big Three of Sabalenka and Goff is shrinking by the day. While the superstars still command the spotlight, Ayala's masterclass against Muchova proves that the next generation is no longer waiting their turn, they are taking it. The entire tennis world should be on high alert after today's display of dominance. While the Czech Republic remains in a state of shock, the global conversation about Ayala's ceiling is only just getting started. This collision between Alexandra Ayala and Karolina Muchova was far more than just a tennis match. It was a cultural milestone. It was the moment a young woman from Quezon City proved that her journey from Manila to Mallorca has prepared her for the brightest lights on earth. The aftermath of this game will be particularly difficult for the Czech Republic to process. One defeat does not erase Karolina Muchova's incredible title in Doha or her stellar career achievements, as she remains one of the most gifted players of her generation. It is important to remember that a single setback does not erase Karolina Muchova's brilliant championship run in Doha or her standing as one of the most gifted players of her generation. However, this defeat serves as a sobering reminder of just how razor-thin the margins for error are at the summit of professional sports. In the current landscape of the tour, the concept of an easy round has completely evaporated. There is always a hungry, tactically brilliant phenom like Ayala waiting in the wings, ready to seize the moment if your intensity drops by even 5%. Muchova certainly possesses the class and the character to bounce back from this. But today, she was simply outperformed by a superior game plan and a more resilient spirit. Across the Pacific, the celebrations in the Philippines are likely just beginning and will undoubtedly continue for weeks to come. Alexandra Ayala has transcended her role as a mere athlete. She is now a living symbol of what is possible when raw talent is forged by elite instruction and iron-willed determination. She has carried the immense weight of a nation's expectations since her days as a junior Grand Slam champion, and today she proved she can shoulder that burden on the world's biggest stage. Today was the definitive moment she transitioned from a promising prospect into a dominant force that the rest of the world can no longer ignore. As the sun sets on this historic day at the California Open, the tennis world isn't just acknowledging a new winner, it is witnessing the dawn of the Ayala era.